Good evening, everyone. I present my condolences to Professor Ron Harley family. I met him about 10 years ago in an international conference in Budapest. And since that date, we collaborated for these 10 years. He was very important to guide my recent research on power application of control to power electronics component. And the best souvenir I have from here, the best memory I have from him is once we visited an hydropower plant here in Mexico, and we went to the plant that was really inside the mountains, and the morning time was very sunny, but by the afternoon time, a very heavy storm came, and the rain was really strong, and a river. We needed to cross a river, and this river was really very strong. It was really flushing, and we couldn't cross with the car that took us to the power plant, and we had to wait for a big truck that finally we were able to cross the river. And I was surprised by the Professor Harley. He was all the time, he was very calm. Thank you again. That is the souvenir, and I have also the condolence of all the Guadalajara, this Investar Guadalajara campus. He visited this campus twice, and many of my colleagues remember him. Okay.
Hello, my name is Charlie Henville. I'm an electrical engineer living in Vancouver, British Columbia in Canada. I came to know Ron Harley by working with him in a working group of the IEEE Power and Energy Society. I came to admire Ron very much for his technical contributions and his ability to work so harmoniously with others, even those outside his direct speciality. You can't really talk about a university professor or electrical engineer without bringing in a PowerPoint presentation. So I want to show you part of a presentation that the working group helped prepare. This is the introductory slide from the output of the working group that we worked on together. You can see the title is rather long-winded, and the number of people and groups who worked in it are also quite numerous. But notice in the middle of the slide, the working group chairmen were Ray Walling, Ron Harley, and Dean Miller. And there were a wide variety of people from academia, manufacturers, utilities, engineering, consulting, and research laboratories. Now, although this sounds rather technical, the end product of this working group was to allow wind plants to connect directly to electric power systems. In this sense, Ron's work really benefited not only the people he worked with, but future generations of people who use electricity, which is nearly everybody. And in conclusion, you can see that even though the words may sound highfalutin, the end result is actually rather beautiful. So with that, I'd like to extend my sympathy and sincere condolences to Ron's family, who will certainly miss him, as indeed we will in his technical community. May he rest in peace.
Good morning from Johannesburg. My name is Pat Naidu. I first met Dr. Harley as a student member of the local chapter of the South African Institute of Electrical Engineers. We used to meet monthly in lecture theatre GO1 at Howard campus. Dr. Harley was our elder. Our friendship grew from the humble local chapter to that of the national and global institutes of electrical engineering, and we went from strength to strength. In 2014, I was the then president of the South African Institute of Electrical Engineers, and together we did and achieved quite a bit for both our institutes of IEEE in America and SAIE in South Africa. We were very sad to hear of him taking leave from us, and I've shared that message, his demise, with all my colleagues in South Africa and across the institutes of the world. May I extend this to the Mrs. Harley and the family, our sincere and deep condolences. Dr. Harley mentored me, grew me up, and today I serve as professor in the Faculty of Engineering and Built Environment, University of Johannesburg, and as non-executive director at the State Utility Corporation of South Africa. Thank you to Dr. Harley. Thank you, sir. We will always remember you. Thank you. Goodbye.
Hi, my name is Glenn Bright. I'm the head of mechanical engineering at the University of KwaZulu-Natal, Durban, South Africa. I first of all like to express my sympathies to family and friends, and Ron Harley will be sorely missed. I first met Ron in the early 90s as a young staff member in mechanical engineering, and I went to see him to ask his help and assistance with grant funding. I must say, he was very receptive, he was helpful, he tutored me, he guided me, and it was because of him that many students and a lot of equipment was able to be bought on the various grants. As you can see in the lab, a lot of the equipment here is testimony to what he did for me in terms of grant application through our national funding agency and from industry. I'd like to say that he of course has been a major mentor of my career. There's no doubt without him helping me, assisting me, I wouldn't be where I am today. So from my side, a very big thank you. A thank you also from my graduate students, from the staff of mechanical engineering, and Ron Harley will be sorely missed. Thank you.
Dear June and Linda, it's Bram Ferreira, fellow South African that knew Ron for a very long time. I still remember as a young lecturer at the Rand Afrikaans University when I first met this famous A-ranked by the FRD professor from Durban. It was at the CSIR in Pretoria, and he stood out with his style. He wore a hat and a coat where the rest of us had pullovers or perhaps a jacket. We moved the same time abroad. I went to the Netherlands and Ron to the United States, and it was always such a pleasure to find sometimes in the corridors or at a meal, banquet, to share some of our expat experiences. Sorry to our American friends, but I'm going to talk Afrikaans. Het was so lekker geweest om te skinder oor die stommighede van die politici, om mekaar op hoogte te bring wat ons oud-kollegas doen, en natuurlijk paar Suid-Afrikaanse grappe met mekaar te deel. June, Linda, my thoughts are with you in these difficult times.
My name is Jamile, and I was one of the many Georgia Tech graduates who had the privilege of having Dr. Harley as their advisor. But Dr. Harley was to me so much more than just an advisor. He was my hero. While I was his student, I had to face the most difficult time in my life. And I remember he was so concerned. He asked me if I needed some time off. I told him that I was afraid that if I were to do that, I will never finish. And I wanted to continue, although I was not at my best. And he looked at me for a moment, and then he said, Jamil, if that's what you want to do, I'll help you. And he gave me his unconditional support. When I was no longer able to teach, he looked for new opportunities for me. He guided me so very patiently. On a personal level, he and Mrs. June were kind and generous beyond measure. Dr. Harley had a tremendous impact in my life. I am where I am because of him. And for that, I'm so grateful. Dear Dr. Harley, thank you so much for all you did for me. I'll miss you.
One of my fondest memories of Dr. Harley is when I met him for the first time. He came into the front office to order supplies. And when he was talking, I noticed he had a gold tooth, which intrigued me, and started a great conversation. And he mentioned he was from South Africa. I've never met anyone from South Africa. As his accountant for the past 18 years, Many times Dr. Harley has come to my office with his little black book in hand to discuss his projects and his student support. I will always cherish my memories with Dr. Harley, and I will truly miss him.
Thank you, Prof. Harley. Thank you for all what you have done for all of us. And many of us that we say thank you. Thank you for enabling us to reach our goals in life. But besides that, helping us technically, you gave us an example of how we should behave as human beings. You have touched many of us tremendously. Thank you very much. June, Lynn, and other members of your family program. I trust that the good memories, the fond memories, help to overcome this difficult time. I have only good memories from my time at Natal. I remember going to Aslanga Road and having dinners with the graduate students and faculty. The patient that Prof. Harley had since I was learning how to speak English. Thank you. You have helped us, a lot of us.
Hi, my name is Mei Jun. I joined the electric power group in Georgia Tech 10 years ago. Dr. Harley is very nice. He has high standard on academics. Although for some family reason I did not complete the PhD program, the rigorous training on computational intelligence enables me to work for a regional planning commission now. I will continue to apply what I learned from Dr. Harley to contribute to the community I serve. I will certainly miss Dr. Harley in the future.
Hello to the family of Dr. Harley, to his colleagues, friends, and honored guests. This is Yao Duan and my wife Qin Sun. I was Dr. Harley's PhD student from 2006 to 2010, and Qin was in the same group. I remember the first day that I met with Dr. Harley. One of the first things that he told me was that PhD effort would be like a marriage. It would require commitment, focus, and sacrifice. In the later days, his words ran very true and helpful for us, both with our PhD efforts and within our lives. His being there came across as that of a loving father, a strong leader, and a man of vision. His character was abundantly clear in his comments on every page of my thesis draft, in his replies to my questions, in our private discussions, and in his guidance of my work. Dr. Harley not only earned my respect and admiration professionally, but as a friend and a family man, we all sensed that he truly cared about his students. During the third year of our PhD effort, a tragedy struck. During my wife's 6 months of pregnancy of our first child, our home burned down. I remember holding her hand and trying to put her at ease by conveying the posture of strength, even though I had no idea where we would sleep that night. It was during this time that Dr. Harley came to our aid. He asked Qin and me to provide a list of what we needed most, as not to receive things that were not needed. He discussed each item of the list with us to make sure that he understood just what we meant. And using this list, he sent a message to the entire campus mentioning our circumstance and asked that anyone with any time or resources that could help to please do so. His attention to detail made the donation effort so useful for us. It was this single effort that saved me and my family during what we believed to be one of the lowest points in our life. I will never forget the kindness and generosity of Dr. Harley. I will instill much of what I learned from him in my own children. Dr. Harley, you will be my mentor and in my heart forever. You have shown us how to love, how to give respect, and many of the best qualities of the human spirit. And now you ask me to learn the most difficult lesson of all, how to say goodbye to one of our greatest heroes. Thank you, Dr. Harley. I will do my best to honor you in all that I do in this life.
I've known Ron Harley since 1994, when I met him in the beautiful city of Durban, South Africa. I met him to see if I could join his research program as a master's student, which he happily agreed to, and then I proceeded on to a doctoral degree under his supervision. During those times of my graduate studies, we have had several discussions and evolved a lot of ideas that today, when I still think about it, they're amazing. We continued our collaborations as colleagues when I moved to the University of Missouri-Rolla in 2002. Ron and I have worked on research ideas for 15-16 years. Have successfully completed a number of projects funded in several millions of dollars, several papers completed, co-supervised many PhD students. And I would say that I'm very pleased and grateful and honored to have known Ron for 24 years, shared a lot of time with him. We have traveled a lot. We have been to more than 10 countries together, several conferences, published a lot of papers. Ron is a dedicated, committed individual and a fine gentleman. I know that he has impacted many other people, just like he has impacted me and my family in a positive way. And I pray that the love of God, through knowing him, continues among us. That's what he was for. He basically shared the love of God, and I felt it through my interactions with him. Thank you.
Hi, this is Rob Matson with the Obalon firm in Virginia. I wanted to say how saddened we were to hear about the passing of Dr. Harley. We hired him to be an expert witness on one of our cases 4 or 5 years ago, and aside from being an expert and a genius in the field of electronics and wind turbine generators, we found him to be just a good, honest person, and we really enjoyed working with him at all stages of the case, and we are certainly saddened to hear about his passing.
Good day, I am Vian Leroux, and I studied my PhD under Professor Harley at Georgia Tech. I am still very, very grateful for all the effort that Professor Harley had to get me into Georgia Tech, for being a friendly face to me when I was a foreigner in Atlanta, and for being a very good supervisor to me. And that meant a lot to me during my further career. I still have very fond memories of all the weekends that I spent at the Harley's house. To me in Atlanta, it was like a second home. To Mrs. Harley and to Linda, from me and from my parents, our thoughts are with you during this time, and our prayers are that you might find strength in God and in your loved ones. Thank you.
Our memories of Ron are
very, very touching. The challenges of laying his career after success in South Africa, moving his family to America, was something that we all admired, and his love for students was something that we all tried to match. Even in his last days, Ron was very concerned to make sure that his students would be well looked after and supported. It was all about the students. That was the great part of Ron. He really was the ultimate professor. We'll miss him dearly. All we can say is, Ron, rest in peace, and may you exalt in God's presence.
Hi, my name is Salman Mahagagi. I was a PhD student of Professor Harley at Georgia Tech. Professor Harley was one of those people who had a major impact in my life. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have come to Georgia Tech. Maybe I wouldn't have even come to the United States. So, in addition to part of my career achievements that I directly owe to him, I think if it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't have made many of the friends that I've met here in this country. I would have met my wife. So he had a major impact. I always remember Professor Harley as a tireless researcher with a never-ending passion and curiosity for technical matters. It didn't really matter what time of the day it was if you wanted to engage him in a conversation about, something technical, something scientific. He would patiently sit with you, work with you through simulations, discussions, and kind of would help you, walk through the problem and, would help you get to the answer that you were looking for. In addition to being a great advisor from a technical sense, he was very kind and very caring to his students. For many of us in the Power Lab, PhD ended up being an enjoyable experience. And if you ask around, ask a lot of graduate students, you will see that this doesn't happen very often. But for us, it did. And I think in part we owe it to Professor Harley for being supportive, caring, kind, and genuinely concerned about the students, their future, what they're going to do. He will be missed greatly, but this was a sad day, and I want to offer my sincere condolences to the Harley family, especially to Mrs. Harley, whom I've met on several occasions. I wish you patience during this very difficult time. May he rest in peace.
I'm Bruce Burton. I live in Durban, South Africa. I was born in 1971, the same year that Dr. Ron Harley became Professor of Electrical Machines and Power Systems here at the University of Natal. It was my privilege to be a postgrad student of his in the early 90s and subsequently on faculty with him during his golden years here, until he went on to spend his platinum years at Georgia Tech. I don't know any of Prof's postgrad students in his 30-year legacy here who call him anything but Prof to this day, not for lack of relationship, but out of sincere respect and admiration for a towering icon who has left something of his distinguished brand on all of us. So Isaac Newton said, "If I have seen further, it is by standing on the shoulder of giants." I am truly grateful to Prof for his mentorship as teacher, engineer and man, and to June and Linda for their open home and for sharing him with us all so graciously.
Hello, my name is Teddy Putkin. I was a colleague of Ron at Georgia Tech, first during his short stay with us as a visiting professor, and then after he joined the faculty in electrical and computer engineering at Georgia Tech, until I left Georgia Tech in 2006 to pursue other adventures. Amongst all of the excitements, sometimes turmoil, sometimes chaos, of academic and faculty life at Georgia Tech, Ron was always the stabilizing factor. He was always there to be called upon when actually things need to be done or quietened down. You see, none of this was new to Ron, having been a dean at his former college in South Africa. I have had the habit of often assigning nicknames to individuals, and the one I referred to for my friend Ron was Uncle Ron because I think it suited him particularly well. Ron and I had the pleasure of working together to make a conference a reality. In South Africa, we very much wanted to see IEEE, for which I was president at the time, to have a conference in South Africa, and naturally I called upon my friend Ron to help out. He was a wonderful colleague to work with in that particular context, first in Durban and then second in Johannesburg. This conference is now a reality and is a regular conference scheduled by IEEE, and Ron was very much instrumental. As we all know, our friend Ron was not a flashy individual. He didn't need to be. His experience, his knowledge, his sheer scientific interest spoke for himself. He was indeed a true scientist in the world, and also somewhat of a renaissance scientist in the broad areas of interest he actually had. Ron was particularly a kind person. He had this wonderful, warm and kind smile. And I always used to say that if you could not get along with Ron, there was probably something very much wrong with yourself. In closing, I would like to say that Ron was, in the true sense of those two words, he was a gentleman, and he was also a scientist. The best compliment a scientist, a researcher can make to a colleague. I will miss my friend Uncle Ron dearly. Thank you.
I am delighted to have now Ron. Praise and fond memories are what we have to remember through our college departures. May our Lord bless and comfort Ron's family, friends, and colleagues. Please accept my sincere condolences. Thank you, Ron, and see you soon. That's Adam from Trois-Rivières, Quebec, Canada. Thanks.
I would like to offer my heartfelt condolences for the passing of Ron Harley. Ron's a wonderful fellow. I had my first opportunity to meet him when he invited me to this conference, FEPCON, 1998. That was just a wonderful meeting. And it was an opportunity to experience his hospitality and his skills as an organizer. He had us over to his house. We had the pleasure of meeting June and Linda, and it was just a wonderful conference, trip that we'll remember for a lifetime. In fact, I think it was part of a longer trip, and it was part of the best trip that I've had so far in many years of travel. He also, in addition to meeting June and Linda, later on that same trip, he arranged for Ilona to show us around in Cape Town. So we just had an amazing time. And that was also the start of a long and fruitful collaboration with Ron and with Kumar. Later brought in Steve Potter into that. Just a wonderful experience, very productive, led to a lot of good research and a lot of great things. And we were far from alone. In fact, the first thing that I noticed about Ron's career was just the remarkable influence that he had on an amazing number of people and how well his students have done. So that's a wonderful legacy for him to leave. There's been many other travels with Ron, really great memories. I'll be keeping the family in my prayers and for his soul, and we'll all see each other in heaven at the end. So he's at rest now, and my prayers and condolences go out. Thanks.
Georgia Tech. I knew Ron for 25 years, and long before that, I knew of him. For 8 years, we were neighbors, just wall separated the two offices. And, I got to know him very, very well. We talked together, we partied together, we went for picnics together, and we did a lot of work together. A lot of proposals. He was kind of like a rock for me. He and his students, could be counted on to, show up at any time, do any kind of work that needed to be done. we did trips to Fort Belvoir up in DC and Fort Sill, Oklahoma, which is in the middle of nowhere. But he was there, and we did all these things together. Lovely time. I learned a lot. What a wonderful person. I'm going to miss him. He's not only has he been kind of a technology leader and inspiration for everybody, but he's been a great colleague and a wonderful friend for me and the family. So, Ron, we're going to miss you, and be in peace where you are. And it's been wonderful knowing you. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Joy Mazumdar, and I have known Dr. Harley since 2002 when I joined his group as a PhD student. He was my PhD advisor. Initially, when I joined the group, he appeared kind of strict, but I can tell you as time went by, I mean, he was one of the kindest person, a very warm-hearted person, a compassionate listener. So I would say overall a great teacher and a mentor. I have had the opportunity of traveling with him for conferences, meetings, etc. And I can tell you, in spite of his busy schedule, he always had time for his students, and I really greatly appreciate that, and that is something I also follow in my life. On a different side outside of our lab, I think he was a great cook, and he introduced me and my family to poiki, and I can tell you that's one of the best dishes I've had. A significant day in my life was the day I received the doctoral degree from him, and that's the day I realized that apart from teaching me the regular textbook stuff, he taught me the value of patience, hard work, and integrity, and I can never thank him enough for that. So I will just say I will always have very fond memories of him and will cherish them for a long time. Linda, June, please accept my deepest condolences. I will miss you, Dr. Harley. Rest in peace. Thanks.
This is Jill Arback from the School of ECE at Georgia Tech. I've known Ron for 13 or 14 years. I met him when I was building an undergraduate research program and was recruiting him to be a faculty advisor for one of the teams. He was reluctant at first and wanted to know specifically where I got the students to join the program. And I had a discussion, and I told him that we recruit all kinds of students. It was a diverse group, and we were just as willing to have students with lower GPAs as those with higher. When I said that, Ron said, I'm in. He was particularly interested in working with students who had come from a place of real struggle, some situations that were just inconceivable to both of us. We worked together to particularly help about 6 students over the 12, 13, 14 years. And we lost some. We had some real successes, though. And Ron felt all of those very, very deeply. He was just an incredibly kind and individual with a unique sense for empathy. Somebody once told me that Ron was a genius. And when I told Ron that I had heard this, he blushed and laughed and wouldn't even address that. He was an individual that I knew I could always go to when I needed advice about what to do with a student. I trusted his instincts and I trusted his ethics. I will miss him always. Walking down that hall on the first floor of Van Leer will always cause a stab of pain, but also delight in having known Ron and the influence he had on my life.
Ron was a colleague and a friend. His dedication to the profession and his students is legendary. We at Georgia Tech will miss him.
Hi, my name is Bin. I was a student in the Power Systems Engineering program at Georgia Tech in Atlanta. I want to thank Dr. Harley for being on my thesis committee. I'm sorry to hear about his passing. He will be missed. My condolences to Linda and the family. Thank you.
It was an honor to have known Prof. Harley from when I first met him as a prospective student in 1980 at the Electrical Engineering School in Durban, South Africa. He gave me the opportunity to study electrical engineering at the University of Natal, where he was head. I am where I am today because of this opportunity, and for this I am thankful. It is not until we moved to the USA that my family has got to meet up again with the Harley family, where we got to know Ron in a different capacity, as a friend, a father, husband and grandfather. Since we travel a lot around the country, our Jack Russell dog was spoilt to get to stay over and enjoy the Harley home for weekends or longer. We think he has got accustomed to sharing two families and learned some Afrikaans along the way, getting excited and so looking forward to his visit at his second home. So thank you, Prof, for blessing my family and I, including Cody, affectionately called Sienki, or younger son, at the Harley home. It's been a privilege. Thank you.